What's up, my sweet little sugar apples? This is Rob from The Gay Guy Plays, and just for some clarification, sugar apples are not actually the same as standard apples, so definitely look them up when you get a chance. Regardless, today on The Daily Grind, we are going to be revisiting Harrow, and for a very good reason. Now, as some of you guys may be aware, I have been playing this game for quite some time, and to be honest with you, as of late, I've been a bit disenfranchised, and it's mainly because of the fact that I don't find a lot of the content in the game engaging, especially when it comes to difficulty. In fact, I feel like DE has been pulling their punches on that subject for quite some time. Now, when it comes to more skilled and experienced players, that tends to leave our brains to flatline during gameplay and leads to quicker burnout. So I actually went ahead and did something that I have not done in quite some time. Now, I don't know if you guys remember it, and if you missed it, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the top corner, but I actually published a video quite a while ago called Warframes I Don't Play for Weird Reasons. Now, I do believe that Harrow was on this list, and it's not because I don't like playing Harrow, but I don't actually like playing Harrow while I'm making live commentary. And that's because of the fact that Harrow is an extremely engaging Warframe, and my brain just kind of goes, but hold on, I need to do this and focus on the abilities and combos and timers, as opposed to actually commenting on what's going on. Like, my brain can't do two things at once. Listen, my brain can barely do one thing at once, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. And when it comes to playing Harrow, I want to play a damn good Harrow, because when you've got a bad Harrow on your team, they kind of like disappear into the fold. But when you've got a good Harrow on your team, your energy is topped off, your life is topped off, you're getting all these crit buffs, enemies are CC'd. It's absolutely fantastic. So there is a big kind of disparity between the two different levels. I mean, let's be real. If you're playing Mesa, all you gotta do is turn on two buffs, hit 4, hit your fire button, and spin around in a circle to deal shit tons of damage. Now, if you walking around like you got a big dick on Mesa, I just need to remind you, Mesa is the one with the big dick. You have a Vienna sausage. Just putting that out there. So don't act like you all badass if you play Mesa, okay? But if you are playing Harrow, and you're staying on top of anything, oh, that dick is just unfurling. It's so big. Now, for those of you guys who have never played Harrow before, he actually has a bunch of different abilities that synergize extremely well together. And if you combo them just right, you can come up with this beautiful orchestra that you're kind of orchestrating, I guess is the term. It's like invincibility, crit buff, CC, all of a sudden you're healing, all of a sudden you're restoring energy. It's just amazing. And the thing about it is, you don't really get that level of engagement when it comes to support Warframes, but Harrow. Ooh, Harrow is fantastic. Legitimately, I got roped into him, and I started putting Umbra form up. By the way, I'll go ahead and share builds and customizations towards the end of this video, but let me wax poetic for now, because I've been dragged down the Harrow rabbit hole. And one of the things that kind of misses out is that kind of level of engagement. I mean, let's be real. If you've played a Oberon, or if you've played a Wisp, and you guys get your buffs on, and your whole team is buffed, you can see that buff bar in the side, and you're like, yeah, I got everybody. And that just feels badass. But Harrow takes it to a whole nother level, because not only do you get to see enemies CC'd left, right, and center, but the UI also plays a big deal in the engagement, which is kind of interesting. It's not something that you see in a lot of Warframes. I mean, when you're using Thurible, not only do you get that cool little icon, you know, that says, ooh, how much you've charged up, but literally, when you kill an enemy, you're seeing how much energy you're restoring to everybody in your little area of effect, and it'll also mark off when you get headshots and you get these big chunks of energy back. And that's like a great freaking feeling of engagement. You're like, oh, I'm doing something, instead of just putting a passive buff on your teammates, right? But not only that, if you've got a well-timed Covenant, you see that little UI piece and it charges up and you get these big numbers, then boom, after that, you start red critting and you start dealing all these big numbers when you're getting headshots. It's just absolutely fantastic. You just get sucked in, not only through just the gameplay, but the UI at the same time. I mean, listen, when you get your penance off, all right, it doesn't seem like much, But if you get your full shielding and then you turn on penance, you get like a chunky ass number for your buff bar. And not only that, while you've got it going, you're literally shooting enemies and you can see how much you're healing your team for. And sometimes that number climbs. And here's the interesting thing, because maybe you didn't see a UI synergy coming into play, because not only is there actual like game synergy with the abilities, but there's UI synergy, because if you see a lot of numbers coming up on your penance, right? You're like penance heal, penance heal, penance heal. That's probably a good time to pop your Covenant, because your team is clearly taking damage. So of course you can go ahead and throw Covenant on. You can absorb some of that damage. You can reflect it back on your enemies when you're doing all your crit stuff. It's just such a pleasant feeling, and I haven't gotten that from many Warframes as of late. I feel like when I play Warframe, it's just like real passive, shoot this, kill this, whatever. Do I kill that guy? No big deal. Somebody else on the team got it. But this is engagement in a completely different direction, and it feels super duper refreshing. I'm just so thankful that I was able to like pull Harrow out of my staple of Warframes and really get something that does engage me. Now, of course, I hope that DE finds a way to do this for any of the upcoming Warframes, because to be honest with you, if we have more set it and forgetting Warframes, you're just gonna have this kind of like set it and forget it mentality. Like, you're just gonna kind of like move through Warframe in a haze, and that burnout cloud is just gonna come creeping in faster and faster and faster. And I think that's why I even like the rework Wukong a lot, because of the fact that you have things where you're like, all right, if I use Defy now, I can get a nice big armor buff, and I can slap a whole bunch of enemies in the face with my big stick. You know, it's that kind of engagement that really draws me back into the game, because, you know, you need to be able to differentiate between a good Warframe player and a bad Warframe player. And when you make certain types of Warframes, and they all kind of just amalgamate, like, listen, the ceiling for skill is very low on a lot of them, but when you get a high skilled one, it's always nice to see. Regardless, I'm going to start rambling, and let's go ahead, take a look at the build as well as the fashion. Okay, so this is my current setup on Harrow. I mainly focused on duration as well as power strength. Then I went ahead and splashed in some efficiency as well as range. Now, I did duration mainly because of the fact that we have a whole bunch of buffs and some CC that goes along with it, but I didn't go in too deep because I like being able to use Covenant as invulnerability, and you guys know the longer that you make Covenant last, the longer you have the crit buff and you can't recast it. So I felt like this was a nice balance, but good enough duration that you can kind of hold enemies down in CC and get some nice headshots off of there as well. Plus, I like not having to refresh my buffs all too much. Then a bit of power strength as well, because things get sexy when you get a whole bunch of crit damage. Also, you don't have to cast Condemn as much to get more shielding, and of course more shielding means more duration on penance, and then more healing on penance, so it all kind of synergizes there. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love is primed flow on Harrow. I think this one is absolutely fantastic because you can bank a lot of energy when it comes to Thurible. I've even heard of people using this with, what is it called? Quick thinking. Now, I've tried it out and it's okay at like lower level stuff to kind of keep things going. However, at higher levels, or if you have a very aggressive team that doesn't allow you to kill shit, if you get in a bit of a pickle, it's not going to perform as well. Like, your kills per second have to be pretty high, and you have to be able to kind of get a lot of headshots with it. So for me, I like to keep it nice and simple. But listen, if you like to play around with that for your build, you go ahead and do that. Now, one of the things that I actually went ahead and switched up, you guys know I love me a little bit of Arcane Energize. However, I like my Lado Prime. And Arcane Precision works really well with it. So as you can see on Headshot, you get a 20% chance of, you get an 80% chance of 120 damage to pistols for 8 seconds. So that's it when it's maxed out, and then we have 2 chances at that because I went ahead and stacked them both. So I've been having a lot of fun with that when I've been using any of my high accuracy pistols. Oh, it's such a good day. Oh my god, the gaze with this is really, really good, but because of the fact that, is it Penance? Penance, speeds up his fire rates. It speeds up the fire rate a little bit too much for me, and basically what ends up happening is I overshoot and I end up running out of ammo. So that's a little bit embarrassing. One of the things that I do want to point out here is I use corrosive projection, but you could also use energy siphon, or this one I think is a really, really cool one to keep in mind. If you use enemy sense or enemy radar, whatever the hell it's called, you can kind of make sure to place yourself in areas where you can see enemies as they're coming out of spawns so that you can get your headshots in there and kind of have a bit of an ability to heal and energize your team. Because you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you got that teammate who just wants to be everywhere at once, and you're like, bitch, I can't heal you or re-energize you if you just killing all of the things. So at least with enemy sense or enemy radar or whatever it is, you'll be able to find those spawns, get those spawns, heal up your team when you can, you know, just to give yourself a little bit of leeway. So that is my current setup. I've been playing around with a lot of different weapons when it comes to this as well. A lot when it comes, oh my god, all of these Roombas. Can you go, please? Join your brother. Little Blue, join your brother. I've been enjoying the Vacor heck a lot because I've been putting laser sights on there and just really going in for all of those headshots, getting those crits. Lado Prime is absolutely fantastic when it's got crits. I've also got a nice juicy ribbon on there as well, and then I've got my kind of like balanced Zaw to be able to see enemies and kind of clear them out if I need to do it real fast. But honestly, Lado Prime and maybe like a little bit of Glaive Prime action is pretty juicy too. Regardless, let's go ahead and take a look at the fashion. Now I'm only going to show you 2 looks because I'm only satisfied with 2 looks. You guys have seen this look before. It was in my previous dress to kill. So this one is what I like rocking with. I feel like it's nice and classy. This really makes me question what they are gonna end up doing with Harrow Prime, because legitimately for me, he already looks like he's on the verge of Prime. Like, just a little bit more detailing, maybe a couple little golden like wires coming off of his shoulders, maybe something along the chest and like the helmet a little bit crazier. I think he already looks really, really good. So this is going to be an interesting challenge for them. And on this one, I have the Atavist because I like the way it kind of rounds out his shape. Now, the next one, of course, I don't need to say it. It's going to be the Grax. The Grax is absolutely gorgeous. Faven did a great job with it. As always, one of the things that I love about Faven, and I mentioned this in a recent video where we went ahead and took a look at some upcoming skins, is his attention to detail. Now, the ends of this, because of the fact that it's well textured, it's got the great quilting, it's got the different kind of like shifts in texture, but you can see the color is kind of like splotched and kind of like smeared, and it gives it this really nice grungy look. He's also great at expressing layers. Look at that. You get some nice layering right there, and of course you get these extra little bits and pieces that kind of like fall down. Look at these boots. Look at how the gradation happens with the boots. It's really, really fantastic overall. I love it. The headpiece, I love how it's kind of a hood and how he's got the dangle downs that match these dangle downs, except they're not on the same color map, so they're different colored dangle downs. I just realized that now, and that kind of triggered me a little bit. Now, I wanted to actually pair this with a couple different armors, but to be honest with you, I think that they just take away from the beauty of this Grax skin. So I think that I'm just going to go ahead and leave Owl Crotch be. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you guys feel inspired to go ahead and take on more challenging frames instead of like really ultra brain dead ones. And here's the thing, I know when we're in the farm state, you know, because this is kind of like where we're at right now. There's nothing going on with Warframe, so we're just kind of like farming, grind out the night wave, farming. You tend to play Warframes that are just easy to farm, and your brain turns off. So like, re-engage yourself today. That's the challenge. Go ahead and pick up Harrow or pick up other frames that are a little bit more challenging to play but really rewarding. Something like Banshee. Banshee is absolutely fantastic for that as well. Grab them and re-engage today. Save your life in Warframe. Regardless, that is going to do it for me for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and got a little bit inspired. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Really, look up sugar apples, though.